You're listening to What She Said with me, Candace Sampson, and this is your weekly reminder to take up big space in life, laugh loudly, absorb new knowledge, and continue to grow and expand. What She Said is your space for the big conversations that matter and the little joys that make life sweeter. This is where empowerment meets self-care and mansplaining has no seat at the table. So grab a coffee, get comfy, and let's jump into it because life's too short not to embrace the good stuff while we tackle the tough stuff. If you've been laid off, pushed out, or blindsided in the workspace, then this episode is for you. My guest today is Tanya Hayles, and she knows pivots like most people know their coffee order. She's built a career across event planning, digital strategy, and community work. She's the founder of Black Moms Connection, and she's also been let go twice in the last year in a job market that feels downright demoralizing. We talk about what nobody wants to admit out loud. The grief, the panic math, the hit to your confidence, the pressure to reinvent yourself while still paying your bills and feeding your kids. Tanya is brutally honest about how long it actually takes to recover from a career shock, why job hunting can't consume your entire life, and how the market right now will try to convince you that it's you, even when it's not. She also breaks down the difference between having a network and actually activating it, why asking for help works better when you give people something concrete to do, and how to stop underestimating yourself when you're applying for roles or pitching your work. Tanya shares practical steps from her workshop, Perfecting the Pivot, including why your name is your most important brand, why you should own your domain, how to collect your work receipts, and how to rebuild momentum when your wins feel few and far between. We also get into AI, what it really means for women at work, where it can help, where it can hurt, and why no matter how much technology changes, your experience, judgment, and voice still matter. If you're in a season of change, feeling unsettled about work, or quietly trying to figure out what's next, you're going to get a lot out of this conversation. Let's hear what she said. All right, Tanya, so you've had several times already in your career that you have had to pivot. Can you walk us through some of your biggest shifts and what drove them?
I mean, there's several. When I talk about pivoting and in telling my own story, I think I'm at like 7 or 8 now, and some of them are by choice and some of them are forced upon me. So I started my events career with different charities and nonprofit organizations. So doing their walks, rides, galas, all sorts of things. And it was great. But the charitable sector can be very, everyone's just moving around and moving up. And, it just felt like it was really closed. So I really decided to take it upon myself and age myself a little bit. And I printed out and mailed resumes.
Well, there might be some people who have no idea what you're talking about.
What are you even talking about? And so I ended up at an event catering company. And while initially it wasn't what I was thinking and expected because they were listed under event planning, it turned out to be one of the most pivotal things for me in my career, because then it led to me being able to leave that organization and company and start my own event planning agency. So really making the decision for myself to pivot, yes, stay within events, but pivot from nonprofit to being now on the vendor side, was definitely one of the biggest ones for sure.
So you are not just self-employed. I mean, you are self-employed, but you also work for people. And in the last year, you have been let go twice from jobs, which is, that's devastating. I mean, it's absolutely crushing for anyone. So how did you move from that initial gut punch to, okay, what's next?
You're making an assumption that I've moved. No, I'm just kidding. I think the most important thing that I did was grieve and go through all 5 stages of grief multiple times. It was really, really difficult. Both of them I did not see coming. And I tried to pride myself on being a really good employee in terms of I always want to leave a place better than when I came into it. And I want my work to speak for itself. And so both of the instances was very in line with a guy ghosting you after a really good first date because I wasn't given a really solid reason as to why it was happening. There was a lot of vagueness, there was a lot of, and I'm like, I kind of don't. So I think
Yeah.
that's really difficult, right? When you want the closure and you don't get it. And it took a really long time, and I'm still going through it, right? It took a really long time to figure it out. And from the first one, I had to say, like, okay, I have skills and abilities, and this, I shouldn't be on the market for too long. All the things that I've accomplished, this should be okay. And it took way longer than I thought. And this job market will make you think that it's you. And you have to fight so hard to not believe that and not let that set in, or you're not going to progress, right? I wouldn't have job hunted if I truly believe that. But it's a fight. It is very much an active physical and mental battle.
I think we're going to probably get into this a little bit more further on in the interview, but yeah, it is completely demoralizing right now to be in the job market. I know it from myself. I know it following you, but I see it as well all the time with women who are currently looking for jobs, especially as they get older, because I think then you sort of hit this perfect storm of factors that sort of you're up against in the job market. Uh, so you've called yourself a serial pivoter, but pivots aren't glamorous, and we know that. Sometimes they mean walking away from something you love. How do you know when it's time to let go versus keeping pushing through on something you feel you're right for?
Yeah, I think that just comes with self-awareness when so 20 let me go backwards to go forwards. December 2015, I went on stress leave from my last employer, not the one that just let me go last, back in 2015. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I just needed a break. And thankfully, we live in a place where one, I had access to a family doctor, and two, he had the ability to write me a note to be like, she needs a pause for her physical and mental health. And so during that time, I had been building up relationships and doing other things on the side and started my own event planning agency like a few months later. So by March 2016, I was incorporated. I was an accidental entrepreneur. I had no idea what I was doing. I just went to Corporations Canada and did the things. And then fast forward to March 2020, when the world closed, I was like, well, there goes that. You can't plan events when, you can't gather in person. And I really, again, as someone who pivots quite often, I could have gone into the virtual event world, and I did do a couple of things on that particular front, but I know me. I know why I love events. I love the texture of it. I want to hear the of the sound check. I want to see the carpet lines. I want to smell and hear the coffee percolator perking up. I want to see the rentals and the song and dance of it all, and you don't get that with virtual. So I knew. So I always tell people COVID kind of retired me from event planning because I knew without being able to gather in person that it just wasn't going to be for me. So then I was like, all right, there goes the 15 X amount of years career that I've been building. Now what? Thankfully, I had other things that I was interested in doing and passions and just the nature of me being outgoing and things, whether it was public speaking or freelance writing. And that sent me into completely different trajectory for where my career has gone since.
So when this bills still need to be paid, though, how do you balance financial realities with the courage it takes to start over?
Yeah, I think at a certain point, you just have to look at all the options, and you have to do things that you never would have thought you have had to do. I've had to pull from my son's RESP, which kills me to do, but I'm a single parent. I'm an orphan. I have no parents. And so there's no rest. Like, I'm my own safety net. I'm my own rescuer. As much as I want him to have a really robust education savings plan, he's 13 and taller than me. So he needs food and shelter now. And, talking with my financial advisor about it, it's just like, it's okay. You're taking from the growth. You'll go back to it when you are back to it. And hopefully there'll be time to get back to it. But, whether it's looking at what my living situation is, do I move in with my sister? What kinds of part-time jobs I can get, that's really hard. And you alluded to it earlier. The older you get in the job market, the harder it is because these companies, they keep saying no one wants to work, but the reality is they don't want to pay for experience. They want to pay someone in this like 2 to 5 years so that they can be at the low end of their band. Because the more that you've been in an industry, in a field, they don't want to, they ask for your education graduation date. And I'm like, that's going to age me. And you know it. And I know it. I know that I can't apply at a retail store. They're not going to hire me. They're going to hire the students that they can pay, whatever the minimum wage is, even though I'm going to show up and I have a family to feed and I have bills to pay. So, I'm going to show up and all the things. So, and then what else can I do? Leaning on my entrepreneurial spirit and figuring out, okay, what am I good at? What skill can I monetize? And go from there. You have to throw everything at the wall. Everything.
And, let go of your pride, I think, too. If you need to take, job X so that you can pursue what you love as well in your spare time, that also has to be an option, I think, if you can manage it, of
Yeah.
course, because you do have to meet your bills, right? You do have to meet your obligations. And I think that we have just been put in a really impossible situation, to be honest, since 2020. It just feels like the hurdles just keep getting higher.
Yeah. I will also say, because I recognize being unemployed, that I'm not in the position to be picky, but my last two employers, I was drastically underpaid. So
Right.
I can't take just anything either because it
Right.
costs you
Absolutely.
more to be working full time and underpaid because then you don't have the time to get another part-time thing or do contract work or freelance work or whatever, right? Because of course, by the time you get home, we're about to get into the days where it gets dark at 4 o'clock and you know
Hmm.
it takes 10 minutes just to get out of your driveway. I'm just like, realistically, and I'm just like, if the last 2 years have taught me anything, is I have to stay at a threshold financially and I have to pursue things at a threshold financially that means that I can exhale and have some financial calm. And it's maybe skipping jobs that don't have salaries, and that's a risk for sure, because of course it could match my salary. But I just went through my LinkedIn the other day, and this is just jobs that I found through LinkedIn. Obviously, I've applied to jobs elsewhere, 11 pages worth of jobs. And when I see the titles, you know, director of, head of, senior manager of, I'm not applying for C-suite VPs, even though I could. I've run up
Hmm.
and built a whole organization, which I'm sure I know we'll get to later, but I'm not going so far off the moon for what I know that I can do. And in a year to get 3 or 4 interviews is really, like you said, it's very dehumanizing, it's very demoralizing. It's a really rough time out there, and I sympathize with anyone who's in that same boat, however they got there, whether it was by choice or by force.
Well, it's interesting you say you went on, there was like 11 pages of jobs. It seems like what we see in these places where jobs are being posted does not match the reality, because it appears that there are a ton of jobs, yet I hear anecdotally story after story after story of people putting out hundreds of resumes and not even getting a nibble.
Yeah, and I think for me, and that's just the jobs that, again, that I applied for via LinkedIn. So to think about all the other places, and yeah, I think for me, what I've had to do with the job hunt is I designate a day. It's my Mondays because no one really wants to talk to people and have meetings on Monday, so it's light. And minimum 10. If I apply for 10 on a Monday, I don't do anything else unless it's super timely and like it's through a connection of some sort, but I don't touch job hunting again until the following Monday. You cannot devote your whole, even though it is a very desperate situation, You cannot
Right.
devote your whole entire day, week to it, because without any type of positive reinforcement, it weighs down. Then you start applying for things just to be applying. And I do not want to do that because you will end up in a worse situation. I mean, yes, nothing is worse
Right.
than being unemployed and not able to pay your bills. But if I'm not paying attention, I'm going to apply for a job and none of it, because it said remote on the job posting, but then when you actually apply, which they love to do this bait and switch as well.
Right.
So I'm just like, I have to do it when I'm active, I'm engaged, I've blocked everything out, and this is my time day to job hunt. I've only really activated that for the past 2 weeks, but it's made the rest of my week that much more light because then I can focus on other things.
So do you think women approach pivots differently than men? And if so, what strengths do women bring to the table here?
Just women are natural multitaskers. We've always had to be. I think it's bred and socialized into us from young ages. Whether it's okay, when you're playing house, you're preparing to be a wife and a mother. That's cooking and cleaning and taking care of the babies, etc. And while that's not labor that is valued by overall general society, it's still labor. And so I think ultimately we are really good at you know, kind of that gif of like the person at the whiteboard with the red string, and like it doesn't make any sense to anybody else, but in your mind you're just like, okay, this has to happen. Okay, back to school shopping and this at the other, and this is going to come out, and maybe I can move from here. Like we are really good at all of those things in that particular regards. But I think just overall, I think we take longer, women, to pivot because of the risk factor, because child rearing falls to us, generally speaking, whether we're married or not. And so I think just ultimately we don't take as many risks, whether it's investing or even when we're job hunting, we're just like, oh, if I have 8 out of 10, I'm not going to apply. Whereas men, and this is an actual study, if they have 3 or 4 of the requirements on a job posting, they're applying. And they believe that they're going to get it. And they will talk their way into that space and get it. Women, we downplay our skills and our abilities a lot because society downplays our skills and abilities.
Honestly, I was just nodding in agreement with you because when I was looking for jobs, I would look at the requirements and I'd be like, oh, like I don't have everything. But of course I don't. Very few people would have everything, right? But yeah, it is you almost have to pull in a little bit of how men would approach it and say, "You know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to apply anyway." So what do you say to the woman listening who just got laid off and feels stuck? What's the very first step she should take?
I um I I think I'm actually being serious about that, even though I
Yeah,
know
the grieving
the
part, right?
grieving part is paramount. You cannot progress without that. And everyone, obviously grief is can be short, long. If you don't do anything but make lunch for your children or wash your hair, then that is okay, because especially a blow that you didn't see coming, you poured into, you did the early days, you did the late nights, you took on other people's work, all the things, right? Like you have to go through the whole, when you like get into a fight with someone and you don't have a good comeback in immediacy and you're taking a shower and you're just like, oh, I wish I had said that in the moment, right? You have to go through all of those. I wish I had whatever, because like the resentment will eat you alive, and really take stock of what makes you happy and joyous. What sparks joy, to quote Marie Kondo. Like, I love strategy. I realize I'm like, as much as I love socials, I hate having to post and create content for socials. It's very bizarre. I'm a tale of two cities on that particular front.
I'm actually with you. I prefer, you and I are pretty active on Threads.
Yes.
And I particularly enjoy Threads because it allows you to just sort of just talk or say what you're feeling or just put it out there without having to think about it being stylized for Instagram or
Yes.
performance for TikTok
Yes.
or things like that. And so yeah, social media can be a real chore for those who work in it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it can also be a real time suck for those who work in it. I oftentimes go, oh my gosh, I just lost an hour on Threads, just, having fun or reading witty comebacks or something like that. I've had to put blockers on my browser now because I can just get lost for hours in it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you find the same
Oh
thing
yeah.
and how you
Well,
manage it.
that's totally real. I think for me, my struggle is, and this is probably very aligned with a lot of women, is I hate selling. The idea of
Yes.
sales is just so abhorrent to me because the minute that you close your eyes and say the word sales, you envision a salesman from the 80s in like the Wolf of Wall Street type of thing. Very aggressive, very pushy, a car salesman. Like sales is a dirty word, right? And especially to me as a woman. So I really struggle with having to do that. I just want to tell stories, which is technically sales, right? Like Nike never
Right.
shows you a product to buy in their ads. They sell you
That's
excellence.
interesting.
Look at all Nike ads. They get the top athlete in whatever sport. They're selling you adjacents to excellence. That's what Nike is selling you. You can go buy Asia's shoe or Serena's shoe, but they're not zooming in on the shoe. It's a one
Right.
liner, it's Serena, it's Asia, it's Simone Biles, it's whomever. And you're like, well, I'm sold. They're like my dream brand to ever work with. Like their copy is king. But I say that to say I'm just like, so I really resent Instagram because it wants videos. I'm like, I'm a Gen Xer. I don't want to have to song and dance every single time I want to
Yes.
share a message. I'm a
Same.
wordsmith. I love words, which is why I loved Twitter until it became the bad place, and why I love Threads because I am quick. I love words. I love reading other people's words. I love typing my own. That's why it's a win for me. Every other platform feels like a chore. And we're not even supposed to put all our eggs in social media basket to promote ourselves because the algorithms are literally against you. Your stuff is not shown to your followers. They're shown to people who don't follow you. So you can have a strategy of like, okay, this is who my target audience is and da 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 da, blah, 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 blah. But the people who follow you are not seeing your content. It's the people who don't. How do you create a strategy for
Yeah.
Anyways, I could talk about
And well, we could have a whole podcast on literally just our beefs with social media, I think. But I think it's just important to remember that if you, are working or in sales or working self-employed, that you have to remember that you are not an employee of Meta. And you don't live to serve them, despite the fact they tell you should be posting 5 times a day and 3 times in stories, and you should be doing this and you should be doing that. That makes you their unpaid employee.
yes.
So it is crazy, but it's a good reminder. So you just hosted a workshop called Perfecting the Pivot. What's the first thing someone should do when they realize that their plan isn't working anymore?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing, like take stock, right? And that's where I got on a tangent, but like I love high level. I love brainstorming. Give me a ton of Sharpies, a ton of Post-its, a whiteboard, and let's go to town because that's when people are at their most excited and unrealistic and they're not bogged down by budgets and, time constraints or whatever. They want the world and I'm just like I want that story. The beginning of a fairy tale, everything is great. So that strategy is my jam. What am I good at? I'm good at talking to people about the things. And so, okay, let me try to resurrect my public speaking career, which of course has gone through its own pivots, right? In 2020, 2021, companies were hiring Black people out the wazoo to talk about DEI and anti-Black racism. And now, and again, for Black people, we saw this anti-woke, anti-DEI stuff coming. When 2022, I had 9 speaking engagements in Black History Month. In 2023, I had 1. That was
Wow.
I knew it was coming. And so I was trying to figure out where am I going to go because companies are not hiring about, they're tired. They have DEI fatigue. So really take stock of what are you good at? What does your family always say? Oh, you should do this, right? And does it have anything to do with what you're doing right now at work, or is it completely separate? Are you prepared to um, take a pause, go to school, do some certification, find some courses? You know what I mean? Like After the grief, then it's the Post-it note bonanza. This is not an ad for Post-it notes, but it could be, because I think
I want to see your Post-it note wall.
oh,
You're going to have to share a picture. Yes.
It's so pretty. I love it so much. You know what I mean? Like, do that work. The work is in the research stage. People want to skip it. And it's just like, and before you can pivot someplace, you have to, there's an arc there, right? And if you want to get to from A to B, like there's a whole middle. And are you on the track that you want to be? You're just like, no, I'm going to stay in this and I want to be in this. Okay, great. But is there another industry that you haven't even looked at? Is there, because sometimes things translate. What the charity world calls development and fundraising is sales for the tech startups, right? It's fundraising.
Mm-hmm.
It's sales and it's calls and it's getting people to give money, right? So maybe you can translate your skills into a different industry. So it's taking stock of your resume, but just also you, like what fuels you and what will, spark joy.
So you talk about tangible takeaways in your workshop. What's one or two that women listening today could start applying right away?
Absolutely. So one of my biggest things is your name is the most important brand ever. And it's so important to own your own name. And so if I'm not saying go out and build a website because that sounds like a lot, namecheap.com, buy the domain that is your name. Because if you are laid off or you decide to start a consulting business or whatever it is, at the very least, when someone Googles you, you want them to have a place to go to. So own the domain. That's the quickest thing to do. And then also, if you do have an idea or something, go to the socials that matter to you and own your name there as well, right? And that's free and easy. So anytime I have an idea, the first thing I do is I go to a domain shop and be like, is this available.com? And if it is, I buy it. I buy a lot of domains. And then I
I
free
have
them.
too many.
It's so many. It's being an ideas generator can be very expensive.
Exhausting.
Which is why Namecheap is really helpful because it's like half the price of GoDaddy.
Good to know.
Um,
Okay.
yes. So really just like I make sure that I can own the domain of the idea, the .com specifically, and then I'll go to Instagram and, I'll create a Gmail in the meantime. Do I want an Instagram account for this idea? Do I want, a Threads or do I want a whatever, right? I think that is the simplest thing that people can do when they're either planning for or post forced pivot, and really just get curious. And I know that sounds really weird, but I think that a lack of curiosity is the saddest part of adulthood, right? Kids play, they wonder, they ask questions of themselves, of the world around them, and then we become adults and we get really cynical and we get into this slog, and there's taxes and there's genocides, there's all sorts of other things. But I think ultimately, you know, what's really what's important to you, but also what's important to the world. If you're trying to pivot from employee to entrepreneurship, one of the suggestions that I have is the World Economic Forum puts out a report every year, basically the state of the world's problems. They're the people who get paid a lot of money to talk about the world's problems. They probably create the world problems, but we won't talk about that. And so if you're thinking about starting a business, does your business solve one of the problems that the World Economic Forum has said is a world problem? Because then you're not creating a business that's a want, you're creating a business that's a need and will get funded by investors, by whatever, because then you can refer back to that report and say, well, the World Economic Forum forecasts that this is going to be a problem for the next 5 years. And this company is going to solve said problem, right? Because that's what a business does. A business solves a problem. It's great to solve something that's based off of a natural passion and skill. You like to bake, you love to sew, you love to knit, you love to color. That's fine. But in this era of disposable income is shrinking faster and faster, really important to think about, okay. And also know like your bills are not going to get paid immediately. So what can you do? What can you pivot? Call your bank, call your financial advisor, What do I have available to me? Do you have a life insurance policy that you can extract some cash from? Like, exhaust all of your options before it becomes a desperate situation. That's generally my problem because I'm just like, oh, I can figure this out. I got time. And then the clock is ticking while I'm waiting to hear back from a job or whatever it is. And then it becomes a desperate situation of like, insurance is due. Try
Exactly.
to not be immobilized. And the hardest one of all of those things, learn to ask for help. Women are terrible at it.
We do. We suck at it.
I'm hyper independent. I'm a single parent. I'm used to having to rescue myself. But I finally wrote an email to people. Well, first of all, when people ask me, oh, how are you doing? I'm just like, I'm not good. I'm getting honest with answering that question honestly. We're so used to, oh, I'm fine. We're not fine. If you're not fine, you're not fine. But then people would say like, well, let me know how I can help. And that felt like work and I hated it. And I was like, now I got to figure out what the answer to give to you is because the answer is give me a job or give me a check for 25K. And I know that no one
Right.
has the ability to do either of those things. So
Yeah.
I really was like, as I said, I'm big on tangible. So I'm like, here are 5 ways that you can help me right now. Here is a Canva asset and a pre-written copy. Share my business. I'm looking for speaking opportunities. Here's my speaker kit. I want to get into some guest lecturing on these particular topics with colleges and university. If you're connected to a college or university, let me know. If you work for a company that brings in public speakers, consider pitching me, right? So then it's not, how can I help you? It's, here are the ways that you can help me. I think when you project manage it a little bit in terms of like, okay, how do I get from being sad and eating cereal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner to this point of movement? And it's not going to happen overnight, and you're going to have starts and stops. You're going to have bad weeks and good days and bad days. But I think just like then you just tackle it the way that you would tackle any project, whether it was at work or in your business.
Personal branding and things like that. But I think really we have to address something I think is a huge issue for women, and that is they feel very uncomfortable selling themselves. So how do you encourage women to start reframing that?
Yeah, I think ultimately sales is storytelling. And if you can reframe it in your mind and then translate that into your marketing slash sales strategy, because they are not the same thing, then you can reframe a little bit of things. So it's in terms of like, okay, you know, I'm telling the story of why I started this agency in 2 different ways. To my friends and the people that know me personally, I'm starting it out of desperation because this job market is terrible and I need to move, right? The definition of an entrepreneur is never sitting still. On the flip side and externally, there might still be some of that vulnerability, but then there's also just in terms of this is what people need, right? People want to create events, but they're terrible at it because they don't know what they're doing. They need some strategy. And, the more you talk and you share who you are, the more that people will know, like, oh, I remember, I think Tanya's into this thing. I'm going to send it to her anyways, right? Always be open. And, half of the things that people send me are not relevant to me. I'm not interested in or whatever, but I always say thank you for thinking of me because the next link that gets sent to me might be the one, right? It might be the client or it might be the job. So I think like truly you have to break through that vulnerable level. When I sent that email to at first I sent it to my like actual friend circle and the response from everyone from my best friend to, other close personal people on that list, they had plotted the vulnerability and whatnot. And they were more likely to respond because if I had just said, hey, I'm starting a business, they would have said congratulations and moved on. But
Yeah.
because I said, I'm starting this business because of this, and this is the help that I need from you, that totally changed the dynamic of what they're receiving. Because everyone's got the attention span of a gnat because we are bombarded with too many things. So I think just really in terms of you can start with your friends and family circle. You have to get past this whole, what are they going to think of me? They're going to judge me. I'm saying all the things to you that I had to say to myself. I hate feeling like I'm being judged. I hate feeling like People are going to make fun of me, or, oh, here she goes starting yet another thing and she's so flighty and she's not whatever, whatever, whatever. You have to get past that, because the people who are saying that about you, and they may be your friends and family, but they're also not helping paying your bills. And bills have to get paid.
Absolutely.
So I think like really some of these things, they may not feel tangible, but they are. These are skills that we're not taught as women a lot, and especially culturally. I'm very mindful of that too. Certain cultures like entrepreneurship, especially for women, and ownership and empowerment for women is not even on the list of 1 to 20. It's 37. So I think really important I want to acknowledge that culturally this might be harder for some women than others, some people than others, right? But it's still 2025, if it's shown us nothing, that nothing is safe. No one is safe. And there's no existing without having a side hustle. And so what is that going to be for you? And don't make it another chore. Make it something that's going to, one of two things, either be something joyful and exciting that you're like excited to stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning working on, or it solves a global problem that is going to hit all the check marks when it comes to a business plan and a business loan and investor plan, etc.
Are your poor communication skills holding you back from being the leader you know you can be? The Master Communicator is a podcast that can help you improve your communication skills in just a few minutes a week. I'm David Tyler, a broadcaster and communication coach, and each week I deliver bite-sized masterclasses for busy leaders like you. Each episode is packed with practical techniques and strategies to help you navigate challenging conversations, delivering impactful messages, and inspire your team. Whether you're looking to enhance your executive presence, build a culture of trust, or simply lead with more confidence, the Master Communicator is your go-to resource. Subscribe now and start your journey to becoming the leader you were meant to be. Transform your communication skills, one episode at a time.
I'm Jeff Woods, and I'm shining a light on music and the rock stars who make it.
He just was one of those people, he stood out.
He was a magic guy. He really was a magic guy. We all have faults. He had the same amount of faults as we all had.
This was before Led Zeppelin. Robert was full on. I mean, he was Led Zeppelin without the band behind him. He had the hair, the jeans, the whole thing, and he was amazing.
The Records and Rockstars podcast, heard around the world and yours to hear wherever you get podcasts. All the episodes from jeffwoodsradio.com.
People to understand what a powerhouse you are, though, because I think that we need to talk about that a little bit, because you have built multiple businesses, a global nonprofit. You have a very strong personal brand that keeps you in the spotlight. I mean, I've watched your growth on Threads. It's been exponential. I mean, we both sort of started there at the same time. I think I'm sitting around like 7,000. I don't even know where you are now. Your numbers are like way high. Like you're just, you're really good at being yourself and engaging people in conversation across multiple topics. But I think probably, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't know if this is what you're most proud of, but I think Black Moms Connection, you started that as a Facebook group, and now it's a nonprofit with nearly 50,000 members. That's just mind-blowing to me. So how has community played into your ability to pivot and keep moving forward?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, thank you for the compliments. That means a lot. And which is another thing that women have to get good at, is accepting a compliment when
Accepting them.
Okay. This is a master class for women in business or women in career or whatever. And I will, BMC is definitely one of the things I'm most proud of, because right now this is the thing that is the most calm and stable and perfect in my life right now, which I'm very, very grateful for, because I don't run it. I'm the chair of the board. I'm the ideas generator. I'm its media spokesperson, but I have a managing director who manages the team of, I think, 8 across the country. And they do amazing work to keep the idea of it going. which, like you said, it started as a Facebook group with 8 of my friends. And so now we've got chapters. We have a chapter in Asia. We launched a chapter in Ghana this past year, growing in North America, including Canada. I think Montreal is next on tap. I was in Halifax in July, hoping to build community out there. I have my eyes on London and in a Caribbean country. Yeah, I think ultimately humans are not meant to be as isolated as we are right now. And it's such a weird dichotomy because how are we so connected? Like you and I are not in the same place right now physically, but we are able to have a conversation, record a conversation that you are going to share with people who are going to watch this from Brampton to Bali. We are so connected, and yet we are the most disconnected that we've probably ever been in the state of humanity. And we're not supposed to be. Community, it takes a village to raise a child is a saying for a reason, because that's what it took. It took a whole village. It took the aunties and uncles. It took the neighbor who saw you leaving your house without a jacket to tell on you and tell your mom that you left the house without a jacket. Right? You used to be afraid of there's eyes everywhere looking out for the kid. And by rights, that also meant it took a village to raise the mom too. And we've lost that. We've lost the plot. And social media, as much as there's a lot of bad, but there's so much blessings and opportunities as a result of connecting people across Wi-Fi and data. And so I think ultimately when I hear the stories of the moms who they do our programs and, they're able to buy houses or start their kids' education savings plans or, a level up in their work, or it was the first time that they ever won something or got to go to our retreats, the first time they're on a golf course golfing, all these things and all the stories that the moms tell me, I'm like, as exhausting as it is to have a whole other DMC's like my son's sibling, right? I started it when
Right.
Jackson was 2 and he just turned 13. So they are siblings. I raised them both at the same time, unsure of what I was doing on both fronts. And, really just in terms of, okay, it's all about community. It will always come back to that. We were a digital community when pandemic hit. So we didn't have to do this crazy pivot, right? Because
Right.
we were already there. And then we became a solution for people who couldn't go see their parents, who couldn't go see their grandparents, all these things. They only had community to lean on. So I think more than anything else, entrepreneurship is really lonely. If you're the only woman in a male dominated career, it is also very lonely. If you're the only Black woman in a white dominated space, it's very lonely.
hmm
And how are you going to survive that loneliness is by finding people. You have to find your community. And not every community is created equal. They're not all going to be the perfect shoe fit. No, Cinderella had to try on a couple of shoes, I think. I might be misconstruing my Disney fairy tales. But you know what I mean? You have to try on different communities, see what works for you. Are you fine with bigger? Or do you need smaller? Do you need in person? Do you need virtual? Knowing yourself is probably the most important superpower that you will ever flex when it comes to any type of pivot. Because once you know, I'm an introvert, I don't want to go in person, I don't want to have to go to a conference, I'm fine with a Zoom call once a month check in where I can have my camera off and this, that, the other. Then find that community because that exists, right? Don't go start a new one because everyone likes to start someone, oh, I didn't see this, so I started it. And I'm like, but did you do the research? Because remember what I said
Yes.
earlier, it's all in the boring research phase. You have to spend some time on Google to figure out that it doesn't already exist before you started. So yeah, community is how we've gotten this far. It is how we will continue as a species. And I know there's a lot that fights that, but that's what I go back to.
So there's a saying, I mean, I know you know it. Your network is your net worth.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? And what do you do if you take a really hard look at your your network and you realize your net worth is not very good? Like it's not stellar. What do you
Yeah.
do?
So I don't necessarily agree with that cliche because my network is great. And my net worth is not so great
Right.
because I don't activate it properly, right? If it's just like I'm sitting in my office and I'm looking to the left and there's bookshelves and I'm like, I can't call myself a reader if I never open any of these books. They're just there to look pretty and make me feel good that, oh, I'm a reader because I buy books. You're not a reader when you buy books. You're a reader when you read books. So I think ultimately, you can go to a conference and collect business cards. You can be on LinkedIn and accept some people. But if you never communicate with them, you never reach out to them to say like, hey, what are you up to? And how do we align? Then your network is useless and you might as well be at zero. I have multiple networks because I'm a woman who contains multitudes and I've got a lot of different things. I have my personal network. That's friends, family, that's people that I know. They've been in my house. I've been to their house. That's your personal network. I have my professional network. That's a whole different email address. That's a whole different set of people that I communicate with who don't follow me on Instagram, right? They probably follow me on LinkedIn and they know me in one particular realm. I have my BMC network and I was doing really great. And then we had a federal election and all of my network contacts left because we had a federal election. So now I got to start over, which is very, very annoying. But I say that to say, I'm just like, so that's three very separate silos of networks. I didn't even touch on socials, right? LinkedIn is very different from Threads. So you have and probably have multiple networks, former colleagues, et cetera, your college and university, your mommy group, whatever it is, you have multiple networks. But are you talking to them? Are you telling them what you're up to? Or every single time they ask you how you are, you say that you're fine. Okay, well, then they think that you're fine. And I know that we don't want to burden other people because everyone is burnt out right now, but no one can help you if you don't tell people how to help you. I have two excellent, excellent, excellent mentors. I love them to bits and pieces. One is kind of adopted me, so I'm like part mentee. She's part mentor, part mom. They're both high-level CEOs of large municipal, local organizations and national organizations. So they're very busy people. They make time for me. We have either a bi-monthly or monthly chat, 45 minutes, what I'm up to. And sometimes the conversations differ depending on the stage that I'm at. But I go into those calls knowing that they're very busy with very specific questions for them. Sometimes it's just looking for advice. Sometimes it's, can you introduce me to X, Y, and Z, or this is what I'm looking for career-wise. And the one who heads a national organization, the amount 24, he's sending me job postings. I'm like, when do you sleep? But also, thank you. Right?
Yeah.
If I hadn't told him what I was looking for, then he would have no clue what to send me. Again, your mentors see way more for you than you probably will see for yourself. So he's like, you could do this executive director job. I'm like, really? You think so? Thank you so much. Because sometimes you need that confidence boost from an external source. And draw upon that to be like, you know what? I could do this. I'm going to apply.
Yeah. It's funny, you say that, because also, it's just coming back to this, because if you're pivoting, you're likely mentally at a really low spot. And, I know I've been there. And I'm like, well, I'll just go off to be a Walmart greeter. And, not that there's anything wrong with being a Walmart greeter, but that
Yes.
certainly does not match my skill set.
Yes.
But when you're feeling dejected and demoralized and, like you're not qualified for things, you do tend to exist in a headspace that is not realistic. So it is always
Yes.
good to have somebody in your network who can remind you that you are skilled and you have skills, and certainly you just need to get through this. So it really does come back to sort of all of those things, the community and the network and, and multiple networks as well. I
Yes.
thought that was really great that you mentioned that, is really to identify those networks and what they're used for in different situations.
And what you share with them is different. How you engage with them is different. I had phases of I call it an SOS, right? I was like, SOS, I need some clients, I need some work, I need to pay some bills. My son's expensive. And how I tailor that message for various platforms changed, right? My personal network got one that included things that were personal to me in regards to my family versus like my professional network. I summarized it, I edited it out or whatever. But I still have to go through my WhatsApp. I still have to go through my text and contact list, because there are some people who got the email, but they saw it, they didn't see it, whatever. So I'm gonna follow up with a text message or a WhatsApp message to every single individual person in my text and WhatsApp list. Because I know me. I don't ignore calendar invites and text messages. Emails might take me a mile, but that's because I have 6 different inboxes that I have to manage at any given time. So I'm very much like, I'm going to pick one. That's why, like, I now just designate days for certain things, because I'm like, it was too much trying to block out time for like multiple things per day. So I'm like, today is a BMC day. That was actually yesterday. Yesterday was a BMC day. Today is podcast and checking some things. Tomorrow will be the other business, and Friday will be whatever. I think I'm running out of days of the week. Saturday is rest.
So I think we
But you
should
have
talk
to
a
do it.
little bit about sort of what the biggest thing the world is facing, but certainly women is AI is changing the way we work in real time. It's going to impact jobs. It's going to impact how we live, our kids. I mean, it's everything. And so for women who've already had to prove themselves twice over in so many industries, what do you see as the opportunities and risks that AI presents for us right now?
So here's the interesting thing. I was so anti-AI. I was just like, why? Like, again, because I'm a writer, I'm like, how could, like, no one can write better than a human being, and all the best stories, like, the children are still reading Shakespeare at high school, and those are like a gajillion years old, right? Like, AI could never. But you know what it was that changed my mind on it, or made me more open to it, was I saw a woman, she had a floral business, and she used AI to mock up a floral arrangement for a wedding. And then she went to the store and bought the exact number of flowers because she knew the size and the scale, etc. So she saved herself time and money by being able to, hey, is this in season right now? How much space is this going to take up? How heavy is it going to be? X, Y, and Z. Does it work for this particular arrangement? And I hadn't thought about AI in that particular application. This was like a couple years ago. Obviously, it moves at the speed of light, and has moved, grown leaps and bounds. I'm a tale of two cities. I also realize that there is no ethical consumption under a capitalist system. So I premise with that because it is very important. If we had to boycott every bad person, bad company, we would have literally nothing left. Okay, so I am
We'd be
mindful
farming.
of that.
We'd be farming our own front lawns. That
And
would be
even
it.
then, the land is not ours. So, like, we would be literally
I
just
know.
floating in space.
You and I have had this discussion so many times, just to pause for a second, but you and I have sort of had this discussion online. It is impossible to be
Yes,
100% an
you can't.
ethical consumer.
You
And you
slowly-
have to pick and choose. I'm sorry, and it's painful sometimes. And I even make myself cringe sometimes because, God, I hate that I had to purchase that from X or I had to
Yes.
go to Y. It
Yeah.
drives me insane. But we're also in an impossible situation. Now, I don't think that's to say you should just ignore everything and not make stands on things. Like, I
Correct.
mean, I think I'm pretty public about it. I haven't been in a Shoppers Drug Mart a Loblaws in over 5 years, and Shoppers Drug
Yes.
Mart, I think 3 now. Like, I'm really vocal about it. Am I changing the world? No. But, I feel good with that decision. And I guess that's what we have to do is sort of pick where we're going to take a stand and where we're going to allow ourselves to be flexible, because at the end of the day, we do have to survive.
Yes. Yep. It's the bare minimums, right? And so my thing on AI is, I guess, as I said, I'm a tale of two cities. I struggle with the environmental and ethical
Mm-hmm.
things of it. I hate that it's using up water, which the faster all of this progresses makes Canada a target, because we are a country that has the largest access to water, and makes us very vulnerable to people who are going to want it. Ethically, as a Black person, tech is never the friend of Black people. When it comes to all this facial recognition, X, Y, and Z. all it takes is the tech company deciding to sell to police departments who want to solve crimes. And you know who they're going to pick? It's going to be the Black people and the Hispanic people and the indigenous people and the queer people and the trans people. Like, tech is never good for anybody but the tech bros. So I have very big ethical and environmental problems with it. I'm also unemployed and don't have access. I used to have a VA who I could be like, hey, can you search up this? Can you look at conferences for me to pitch at? Can you send out all of these things, X, Y, and Z? Can, a human being that I can bounce things off of that I was paying because I needed to be ethical and pay them for their time. I don't have money to pay someone for their time right now. What I have at my disposal is ChatGPT. And so I lean on ChatGPT probably way more than I would have 2 years ago for certain things. I'm just like, hey, this is a grant that came up. Summarize this for me. Let me know what I need to do. I'm still going to reread it. I'm still going to rewrite it because Chat is wrong all the time. Mine is named Catherine, aka
Yeah.
Cat.
And you have to ask it, where did you get this information from? Show me where you got this from. It just makes up shit. Sorry.
It really, really does. And I'm just like, girl, like, let's get it together, right? So
But I have to tell you, Tanya, I really do enjoy my ChatGPT because it's gotten to know me so well that oftentimes I'll be like, okay, I'm done. It will say to me, you should go have a glass of wine. I'm like, yeah, we're that comfortable together. You've got me. You get me.
And I'm just like, I can't open Gmail. I can't open an Adobe PDF document. I can't do a Google search. I can't open a WhatsApp chat without being asked to use AI to do those things, right? So
You're so right.
escaping AI is literally impossible. And, the people who have taken a hard stance on not ever using it, a certain iteration of it, right? Because I'm just like, Grammarly and, spell check is, you know what I mean? Like, there's certain things that are technically AI, but not, right? And so I'm very much a person. So I think like the risks are people using it to think for them and thinking that because now you're feeding your idea into a system and you're allowing it to think for you. Someone else is doing the exact same thing. You still need the secret sauce of you. And so I think that there are opportunities. There's a ton of things. I was at a conference the other day and this woman, she's been in the AI space for like, I think a decade. And she's like, if you're not using AI is using you. And I was like, dang, well, she's not wrong. And we are going to see a bubble with it. Whenever there's this, it's like microwave food versus slow cooked food, right? Like, yeah, it might seem that was like hot on the surface, but then when you got into the middle of it, you're like, it's still cold, right? We're gonna hit this AI burst because there's only so much innovation that can happen in the space before something goes terribly, terribly awry. It's going to cause a very bad economic thing that's hard to recover from, or a high profile something is going to happen and then everyone's going to be like, oh no, maybe we should have some laws. It'll be too late, but that's going to happen. And you have to prepare the same way that Black people had to prepare for an anti-DEI wave that was coming 3 years ago, 3 years ago. We have to prepare for this. What happens when AI bursts? And if you've made your whole company based off of AI, and then all of a sudden they're just like, any AI company has to pay this much money because of the environmental impact and, the use of water and blah, 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 blah. Are you going to be prepared to do that? Probably not. So, yeah, I think that there's great opportunities, but I think that there's way more risks that people are just ignoring because we all want shortcuts. Everyone wants to get money as quick as possible. Fast money doesn't last. Never does.
So it feels like more and more people are being pushed into pivots right now because of AI, layoffs, contracts ending. I mean, the whole world being thrown into disarray. So from where you sit, do you think we're entering an era where reinvention will be the rule rather than the exception?
1000%. I don't think that you can survive just being a thing, right? And the example that I used in the workshop was, you're a doctor. You went to school, you went to medical school, you did the thing, you have a certificate, you have a practice. And that's fine. Certain doctors, they'll be fine forever, especially in Ontario where we need them. But
Yes.
maybe it's, do you write and now you are a guest columnist in the Globe and Mail, or you're the expert that breakfast television calls upon when, I don't know, Tylenol is in the news. Like now you've still pivoted, same industry, medicine. You're an expert because you went to the medical schools, but now you are doing other things that are not reliant upon taking care of people. You are a public speaker, you are a guest writer, and you're on the speaker circuit, you guest lecture at other different things, you go to conferences. Now that's a whole other revenue stream still based off of the things that you're doing. This is all if you want to make medicine your whole entire world and ecosystem, right? For me, that's events. Everything always comes back to events for me. I tried to go away from it, and then I was just like, it really is my jam, right? Even digital strategy and marketing, while I love it, I'm just like, for my business, the ecosystem is events, but multiple different ways, right? Because you're going to serve different people at different financial levels. So I think that always keeping your eye out for opportunities to expand your ecosystem of revenue is, it's definitely going to be the way moving forward, like whether you are married or single, it's really hard to survive on just a job, and two incomes, or definitely one. So I think just really in terms of like, look for the opportunities. Don't be an opportunist, but look for opportunities.
Oh, I like that. So looking back at your career pivots, is there one that taught you the hardest lesson and one that has brought you the greatest joy?
Greatest joy, definitely becoming a mother. Because without becoming a mom, I don't ask the question about sunscreen for Black skin. Because I was like, Black people don't need sunscreen. Fun fact, we do.
Yes.
But it's that question that started Black
Yeah.
Moms Connection. And Black Moms
Interesting.
Connection has really, it's put me on stages. I finally could say, like, thank you for coming to my TED Talk, because I did a TEDx talk, face to face and consistently, in conversation with the federal government, meeting the prime minister, meeting Michelle Obama. All those things don't happen if BMC doesn't exist. And the other opportunities that I don't even know about, potentially writing a book or, anything else, as a result of asking this question and starting this space, wanting it to be a tangible space, using my nonprofit background, right? My very first job out of university was the Ottawa Food Bank. Then I went to Big Brothers Big Sisters. I went to Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. So I'm just like, I had an understanding about how nonprofits ran before I incorporated BMC as one in 2016. I still didn't know what I was doing altogether, because I was like, bylaws, who writes those? But yeah, I would say that was definitely the one that I'm the most proud of, because it still reveals itself to me. And again, it's the one that's going the best. So it's definitely the one I'm most proud of. The hardest, I think, the transition from being an entrepreneur to being an employee. In 2022, I was recruited. I was reached out to by the director for the role that I ended up in for 2 years. And these companies really, they love saying entrepreneurial spirit, but when you get in there, that's the first thing they want to beat out of you.
Right. It's
And
true.
it's really difficult, because I don't have the patience for inefficiencies, right? You've hired me to do job X, whether it's raise X amount of dollars, whether it's sell amount of tickets, whatever it is. That's a hard black and white KPI deliverable. I want to get to that deliverable as quickly and efficiently as possible. And that is not what corporations want. They thrive on the multiple levels of approval and the hierarchies, and you should know your place, and don't talk to these people, and don't reach out directly. You have to go through channels, and you have to have multiple meetings. And I'm just like, that is not efficient. That does not get me to this deliverable that you hired me for. And so I hate the words entrepreneurial spirit, because entrepreneurs move. We We learn how to build websites because we don't have the money to hire a web designer. We do our own graphics in Canva because we don't have the money for a social media coordinator. We move. And so if you do not want someone who is used to, and this is also part of my job problem, my job hunting problem, is I have entrepreneurship on my resume. And I thought about removing it, but I'm just like, but my biggest wins are some of my entrepreneurial wins. So like anyways, it's a struggle bus. But that was really challenging. And so now I'm very scared to apply for jobs, even though I have to, because I'm just like, this is going to keep happening. I'm not going to be able to tamp down the entrepreneurial spirit in me. I became an entrepreneur by accident, and I've had to grow, learn, pivot, fail, make mistakes, flourish, all of the thing, and have receipts to prove that I've done it. But if a corporation is not really open to idea generator and a creative spirit, I prioritize joy when I apply to jobs. I want a place that I know that I'm going to have some creative freedom.
Right.
Some, not a lot, just a little teeny tiny bit. I just need a little bit, guys. I just want an ability to have a whole bunch of Post-it notes in a whole bunch of different colors and make me happy. A lot of them say a lot of things on their job postings, and then you get in there and it's a very, very different environment. Fast pace is never fast. There's never fast
Man,
pace.
yes.
I'm like, what are these fast paced environments? I'm like, I'm still waiting on creative from, the graphic team, and I still waiting for approval on this budget for like 3 weeks, and I gotta chase them. I used to say to Jackson, that's my son, by the way, or say to people, I don't even chase the kid that came out of my uterus. I'm not chasing grown adults who are paid probably more than me to do their job. If I've done my job and said to you, please approve this, why am I chasing you if you read it? It's your job to read it. I don't have the patience. So I'm struggling with where I apply and the type of roles that I'm applying to because, I've just also been bitten by places that purport to be, again, it's like dating all over again. I keep presented like a nice guy and it was great. And then, you get into a relationship and you're like, oh, that's not it at all. And if you live together, now you're stuck in a lease.
Right.
But, we move. That's the motto.
And entrepreneurs have no choice but to move. And they don't have meetings to talk about the next meeting. And so those are they're very different cultures.
Yes.
So between, though, right now, you have the IOE agency, you have Black Moms Connection, you have a podcast, The Event Bestie, you have an experience coming up. And now I might script the name, Tanya, so correct me, but I think it's called Black Experience, is it not? That you're also
experience.
Okay. What one of all, that's a lot of irons going in the fire. And I totally relate because I am literally, I think we're running parallel lives. I have all of the multiple things going on too, but they all can't give you the same energy. So what one is giving you that rush, that energy?
So the thing that I'm excited about the most right now is Blackout Experience. Blackout Experience is combining my lifelong soundtrack of sports to events. And it'll be a travel concierge service for Black women who want to experience premium sports, whether it's like F1, Wimbledon, like the fancy bougie ones, right?
Very cool.
I know how to curate an event because I've been doing it my whole life. I know sports environments, worked in it, been a fan of them, been watching them, and the numbers back me up, right? I think Forbes said 41% of the recent fan base of F1 is women. 47% of the fan base of the NFL is women. Women watch sports. We just don't go because they're not safe environments for us. And if you don't have a friend that you can bring along with you, you're not going to book the ticket to go watch cars go around the track in London. So really try to create different experiences for women to safely, because there's safety in numbers, right? And safety gender-wise, but also racially. So it's just like, okay, we can go into this very white, male-dominated space of sports, because they all are, anywhere in the world, maybe other than India and the continent of Africa, but they're very male-dominated at the very least in the seats. And so, you have to go knowing that you're going to be safe, and that if you start getting harassed, like you're with a group of people. So that's the impetus. And I'm really excited about it because despite the fact, because people are going to listen to this, they're like, wait, you just told us to solve a world problem. This is not a world
Yeah.
problem. You're absolutely right. But I said, you either have to do something that is going to spark a lot of joy, and it does, or solves a world problem. Because there are still people who have money. There are still people who travel. There are some people who have, a luxury premium, the Amex users and all these other things. They still exist. There's people who aspire to be like those people. That is probably a bigger group. So for me, that's the one that sparks the most joy. I rotate my attention to all of my endeavors. I had to take a pause on the podcast in the summer because I had laryngitis. So I was like, okay, this is great.
That
It
doesn't
forced
work.
me to stop talking. So great. And so I have some episodes to record and probably be back next month. BMC, as I said, I don't run the day to day, which is fantastic for me. So I'm only in it as much as I need to be from the team, which is fantastic. IOE, it's new. I don't know what it is to start a, a business without a client in your pocket. Because my first event planning agency, 16, had a client in my pocket. And I never had to look for other clients because it was a US-based client. It was great. I love that exchange rate. It was lovely. Moment of silence. So I say that to say, uh, I am always going to be living the lifestyles of the rich and nicheless. I don't know how to just focus on one thing or just say I'm all in on one thing. And maybe that's part of the problem. That's just how I'm wired at this point. So I'm just rolling with it, and I'm pouring into what I think will pour back. I'm trying to plant the seeds and trying to be realistic, working with ChatGPT, be like, let's talk marketing strategy. Let's talk sales strategy, right? I've never talked sales strategy before because, again, hate sales. But really, yeah, I'm really excited about the opportunities to really just create space for Black women. I think in some way, shape, or form, I've been doing that through BMC specifically. But that's something that I know how to do really well. And I think this is just another evolution of that. And, we'll see where we are this time next year or even by the end of the year. I'm always examining, right? I think that that's really important. There was another thing that I was trying to do and I paid for the certification and I was like, I can't. I don't have the mental capacity to do it. I don't think I can do it authentically. I don't think I can do it honestly. I'm going to pause on it for now. And that's okay. It doesn't make you flighty. It makes you curious.
So you have a knack for landing on your feet, and you may not be feeling that today or yesterday. Moods change from day to day. But where do you imagine your next pivot might be?
I think, let me actually restart. I hope that the work and the hustle I do in the next 4 years, I just turned 46 in August, and my 50s cannot be what my 40s were. My 40s were full of loss and grief. I lost my business. I lost my mother. Um, I lost my job. I've lost a lot in this decade. And so I said to myself, self, you will have to hustle probably harder than you've ever had to because there's so much more to fight against. The news, the state of the world, economies, etc. But if I can figure out the new secret sauce, a new recipe for success for myself in the next 4 years, my fees are calmer waters. And it's not a tsunami that I'm just watching that's going to hit me and threaten to drown me. So I really hope that this time next year, Q4 2026, I have some wins that propel me forward. Right now, it's like going to the gym. You have to find your own motivation and that's not fun. Why?
Yeah.
Why do I want to do that? Right. And then it's when you start seeing your body, look different in that dress or those pants or, the gains in the chest or the legs. You're like, it's working. You need to see a win in order to continue to propel you forward. Right now, all my wins are self-generated. And that's why I'm exhausted because I'm working really hard to keep myself going. And so I'm hoping that there's external wins. And it's not necessarily just landing a job. It's maybe landing my first client. It's selling the first group experience. It's doing my first guest lecture. Like, not super crazy attainable. Yes, I want to get to a point where my business is 6 figures, but I would settle for 4 figures right now. And I think if you learned to start small and grow big. Everyone wants to be Uber overnight. You can't. Meta wasn't even Meta overnight, right? Like everything has to simmer and stew for its right season and period. And it is so, so hard. And I'm not saying anything that I'm not living literally in current real time. I can only devote this much time in the middle of the day to this podcast because I'm unemployed, but I feel really strongly about sharing it. I don't want people to just be like, oh, she's so motivational and she's so fantastic. I mean, yes, thank you so very much. But also, oh, she's living it for real. She's not just saying this stuff. It's like you read those articles, they're like, oh, I'm a self-starter. And then like their parents gave them like $100,000 to start their businesses. You're not a self-starter if you started with $100,000.
That's right. Yep.
Right. And I'm just like, I'm not that person. I'm going to be the person that's like, I was blowing balloons at 3:00 in the morning to put on my son's door. And I know there's a whole bunch of listeners who can relate to that. And then you're going to check your emails and you're going to be like, okay, got to start the day as exhausted as I am because it's not about me today. It's about this child that wants to have a good birthday and wants to feel a certain way and all these things. I get it. If it's been a business pivot, I've lived it. If it's been an employee career pivot, I've lived it. I think that is what I want the listeners to take away is just like, I've lived it from both sides. I'm not just speaking to you, I'm speaking to myself as well. And I'm not going to say we're going to get through it because there's days where I don't believe that. I'm being very, very honest. But what's one thing?
I mean, just again, I because we're on social, I know that you and I just often exchange replies to each other like, we're doomed. Like when we see the crazy stuff going on in the world, it's like, oh, like what is going on? And so it is hard to have hope right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you don't, like my faith is in shambles, right? I'm just like, okay, so I am one of God's forgotten children. That's great. And hope is on minimal, is on E, guys. It's on E. But if you don't have the faith and the hope, that's okay. Hopefully you don't live there for too very long. And also allow people in your life to hang on to it for you. Because I've said that to my friends. I'm just like, people are like, it'll work out. I'm just like, I hope so. I don't believe that. But I need them to believe that for me. So in that way, it makes the job hunt or it makes the client search or it makes the sales strategy or it makes the work worth it. We are not meant to just literally pay bills and die. Like I adamantly refuse for that to be my life. I don't want that to be the life for anybody else either. It's a lot harder in this time, in this era, but yeah, there's still good. For all the bad, there is still some good. We just have to dig way deeper for a lot longer to find it.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan. And I want people to be able to follow you and connect with you. And I'm going to tell them right now to go over to Threads. And I believe it's at the Tanya Hayles, right?
Yes.
Yes. At
yes,
the
because
Tanya
someone
Hayles
else
on
has
Threads.
my name on Instagram, and then I was never able to own it. So I had to put V in front of it because I'm just like, BTF. See? And this is why it's important. Hear your name
to get that
and
name.
Your handles on the things.
So you're the Tanya Hayles. I want people to go over there and connect with you. But where else can they go?
Yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn. I'm less sassy on LinkedIn, but sometimes there's occasional sass. So Threads and LinkedIn are the two places that I place the most priority to chat and engage with folks. IOE stands for Impact Over Everything. Agency.com, blackmomsconnection.com. I'm in a lot of different places, so there's so many ways to find me.
All right. Fantastic. Tanya, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your humor, and your lessons that you've learned over the years. It's always a joy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me and giving me an opportunity to. This was like therapy. I appreciate it. Please send me the invoice. I won't pay it immediately.
Never.
Eventually.
I always have too much fun talking to you, so no, never. All right, Tanya, thank you so much.
Awesome. Have a great day.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to share it with someone who'd love it too. And don't forget to hit subscribe to What She Said with me, Candace Sampson, on your favorite podcast app. It's the easiest way to stay connected. Want more? Sign up for my newsletter at whatshesaidtalk.com to get all the latest updates, and let's keep the conversation going on social. You can find What She Said on Facebook and Instagram, and you'll find me on Threads, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Candace Said. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week.
Motherhood is complex. One minute you're soaking up the sweetest, most heart-melting moments with your kids, and the next you're hiding in the pantry with a fistful of chocolate, wondering if you're the only one making it all up as you go. Spoiler, we all are. I'm Scotty, a mom of 3, life coach and intuitive, who finally said screw it. I'm done trying to do motherhood the quote right way, and I started trusting my mom tuition instead. Because the right way is whatever works for you. Momplex is where we cut through the noise, ditch the guilt, and figure out how to actually enjoy being a mom without losing ourselves in the process. I'm not here to tell you how to parent. I'm here to help you stop overthinking, stop comparing, and stop feeling like you're failing because you're actually doing so much better than you think. This is a real, unfiltered, explicit as hell mom talk that you will not get in the carpool line. So let's do this. Real convos, lots of laughs, and a whole lot of truth bombs. Welcome to Momplex. P.S. This podcast is explicit. So unless you want your kids casually dropping F-bombs at preschool, grab your earbuds, mama.
The world of audio is evolving fast, so much so that it often means video as well. These days, staying ahead isn't an advantage. It is a necessity. I'm Matt Kundle, and every week on the Sound Off podcast, I speak with the people shaping the future of podcast, broadcast, and audio. Whether you're behind the mic, in the production studio, or in the boardroom, this is your weekly look into the trends, talent, and tech driving audio forward. The Sound Off podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and at soundoffpodcast.com.
Another Sound Off Media Company podcast.